Yep. So with the ninth pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz should do whatever they want because we kind of know statistically that you really start to get lucky around here. Outside of the top five projections, you hope that these players can turn into role players or even franchise superstars, but the guarantee really starts to drop off quite quickly. So, the Utah are in an interesting position where they've got a lot of different assets. I felt they should have been more aggressive during the trade deadline and really pick a direction, but they weren't. They've really lucked in to Lauri Markkanen, and that's the first move that I'd stayed here. They need to guarantee the last section of his contract to keep him nice and cheap, but also kind of show some commitment to him, or even extend him. I don't, a shock horror. I'm not a GM, but I would say that something to give him some financial investment would be a good start. Um, then this is an interesting one. So Colin Sexton's an interesting player on the Utah Jazz because clearly capable of getting 20 plus points, but I'm not sure if you agree with me or not. Probably a volume shooter without a high impact on winning. And maybe that's selling him short, but I apologize. So he's the most interesting piece because he's locked up for 4 years at quite a high salary clip, but we got to do something. So the player that I would end up trading him for is Joe Harris from the Brooklyn Nets, because I feel like that's a team without a direction as well. And you might be able to suddenly figure out where this team's direction's going with my other trade that I would have them do. And that is a big old pick collection with Marcus Morris Sr. coming from the Clippers for Olenek, Baji, and Fontecchio. And I apologize to the last two names. They are literally there to make up the contract money. What is the motivation for this? The Clippers really like collecting 3-point shooters to go along with their wing players. So Olenek will tick that box and obviously give them a little bit of depth at the center position because Zubac didn't tolerate that. But for the Jazz, really what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to tank them down. Purist look, there's two ways to view this. They were right in the playoff push and they should try to be competitive, but understanding that they make the 8 seed or the play-in, I think we can acknowledge that the top 8 teams in the West were very good, and Utah is not on that level. And I think they're also a beneficiary of surprising people. And expectations are really big at the start of seasons. And 20 wins in October and November are probably not equal when you compare them to say January and February, where teams are a little bit more established and philosophies have been put into place. So to quickly summarize, keep Laurie or give him some money. Sexton for Harris, get off Sexton's contract and, collect an asset that's not on contract for long. And Olenek, Abaji, and Fontecchio for Morris and some picks. So off you go.
I'm just so you're gonna give Lauri Markkanen money, and he's gonna be his number two option is Marcus Morris. Is that what you're suggesting? And Joe Harris
Caught
will come
blowing it
in
up.
because we're trying to make the team better, or if we can't make a team better, ultimately set them a direction. Yeah, that to me is our task here, right? And that's somewhat a task of any front office and GM, I guess, to make the team better or set a direction on how this team will get better over time. Because I guess we're gonna we've had a few interesting conversations already about opinions on how these organizations could go, and I guess it looks like the Jazz is gonna be a real opposite world here. Because I've got number one on my list. You trade Lauri Markkanen. You trade Lauri Markkanen right now, while his value to be traded is at an all-time high. This guy at the moment has obviously had balled out of his life last year, and turned in an all-star campaign, but I'm not sold on him doing this in year in, year out. Okay, I really am not. Okay, can he be a high quality player? Sure. Can he be a number two option on a team? Sure. Okay, can he be like a Porzingis, maybe even a better Porzingis? Sure. Okay, but is Lauri Markkanen a player you make as your number one option on your team? I'm not sold on that. Okay, so I'm saying you trade him right now, while his value is high, because the Jazz are at a point where they should be rebuilding. He's 26 at the moment. Okay, any picks they pull in right now and they start to rebuild, if they're not going all in, they're on a different timeline. They're going to be at least 5 years apart. Okay, they're on a different timeline here. All right, I'm saying you build around Walker Kessler. All right, obviously had a great rookie campaign. I'm not saying he's your franchise cornerstone. Okay, let's be clear. Okay, but I'm saying you build around him for what you have right now. Okay, you obviously, you say this is my guy at the 5. What can I put around him to continue to put us on the right pathway? And I'm saying the third step here is obviously continue to look for maybe potential stretch 4s and stretch 5s that you pair with. Obviously, Walker Kessler is a sort of a paint-bound player, doesn't really shoot threes. Similar to Gobert to a greater extent. That was the whole joke, wasn't it? And obviously that you got to be able to stretch your offense out by pairing him with the right young players as they continue to grow. All right, which sort of comes down to my trade, which I said trade Lauri Markkanen. So I've got Lauri Markkanen on the block here. Ironically, going back to the Chicago Bulls for Lonzo Ball and picks. Now, obviously, this goes a few ways. Firstly, the Bulls are probably like, oh, well, as if we're bringing Lauri Markkanen back, but now you bring him back as an all-star. All right, and if you just think about this, Zach LaVine, DeRozan, Lauri Markkanen, and Vucevic, you're going, oh, wow, that's okay on paper. All right. Obviously, you're now saying that Lonzo Ball situation is not going to change. Okay, and I don't know whether he's going to play this year or not. I don't know anybody does. I don't know if he does know himself either. Hopefully, we do see him back. But ultimately, will he become a medical exemption, or will it be a contract that's obviously just bought out potentially? But the bigger part here, and the picks is the bigger part, because I agree that they do want to continue to rebuild around Walker Kessler, and more picks is sort of that pathway that you go. Is that you would expect this Bulls window to be fairly small. Okay, so obviously they're going to blow this up over the next few years, whether they do it this year or not, or the next few years. So in the next, say, 3 or 4 years, you would imagine the Bulls are potentially now going back to the lottery. But right now, all right, well, we're going to go to Bulls in a couple of teams. All right. It feels like right now they're committed to winning now. So you sort of give them a player to continue to follow that pathway, and you're sort of, banking that they will tank out, bottom out. And then obviously you're going to get some high picks down from them down the track, maybe a couple of first rounders, maybe put a bit of protection on one of those picks or something like that. I think that's the way the Jazz should go.
Yeah, look, I actually did try to explore some Lonzo Ball to Utah stuff because I really feel like Utah does need to blow it up, or does need to really settle into a lower seeding. I think they got torn a little bit with early success and then felt like that was the direction to go. But I think we both agree that Utah needs to find the cornerstone, which Walker Kessler may be it, or Walker Kessler might be the third or fourth player on that team. I'm valuing Lauri for the team, and you would hope that he can finally maximize that potential ongoing. But I'm glad that we're both blowing them up in different.
This is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.